Hey everyone, it is Amy Campbell and Carlin Crow from the Iowa Developmental Disabilities Council here for your weekly snapshot of what's going on at the Capitol after week 11, which is pretty well on through the legislative session. And Carlin had a really fun uh, way of organizing things last week when I was out and talked about the good, the bad, the ugly, the confusing, and the disappointing bills. And it was a great rundown of what's still out there as we approach the next and last legislative funnel deadline, which is this Friday. And that is when all of the bills have to have passed either the House or the Senate and have made it out of committee in the other side. So if a House bill has gotten out of the House and is out of Senate committee, or a Senate bill is out of the Senate and has passed through a House committee. Otherwise, those bills are not going to be considered the rest of session. So we're up against the deadline again this week. And we had a few things to talk about. So you talked about the good, the bad, the ugly, the confusing, and disappointing. Let's talk about the hopeful this week.
Good idea, Amy. So we have to be hopeful. Yeah, in case you didn't make it through the whole snapshot last week, it's long, but it's broken down and there's slides that have a list of bills, the good, the bad, the ugly, the disappointing. And so you can use it for quick reference also if that's helpful. But yes, it was a long video, but we were trying to encapsulate everything that's going on. It's hard to do that 3 to 5 minutes, but we're going to go quickly today, right, Amy?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopeful. House File 252, we've talked about quite a bit this year, which provides comprehensive transition scholarships to programs in Iowa that are offered for students who have intellectual or developmental disabilities to go to a 2-year or 4-year program that's accredited in the state. And that bill has come out of the House and it's been come out of a Senate subcommittee, was supposed to be debated in the Education Committee this week, last week in the Senate, and it was on the calendar, but didn't come up for a debate that day. So we're still hopeful that that one's going to come up again and we'll make it through the funnel. It is something that we hope will pass this year. It came up last year and it did not pass through. So it's getting closer. And so we're very hopeful for that one. The other is Senate File 295, which is the Senate version of the guardianship and conservatorship. Senate File 295 has passed out of the Senate and has been sent over to the House. It was supposed to be on the calendar for a subcommittee this past week, but it got canceled. So we know that that's going to be rescheduled. So we're hopeful that it's going to move through the House also. And the House version of the bill is hopefully not going to move through the House version because we like the Senate version better. So those are two hopeful bills that if you have strong feelings about them and want to contact your legislators, it would be good things to contact on next week for sure so that they make it out of the funnel.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting about both of those bills is they are things that have been worked on for a few years by advocates and are really moving forward because of the advocates' work on that. And so I think they're good examples of when you stick to it and keep working, maybe you don't get it the first year, but you try and try again. To sound like my mother and my grandmother, try and try again. It will eventually start to have that momentum to move forward. So I'm really excited about both of those bills too. But unfortunately, we have to turn to some more ugly, disappointing, and confusing news because on Thursday night, before I think it was close to the last bill of the day, they did Senate File 494, which is a bill we've been looking at for the last 5 years that is called Public Assistance Reform. And that bill, Senate File 494, really, to summarize, puts some barriers in place that might kick some people off of their public assistance. And that would be Medicaid or food assistance, which we call SNAP, or some of the family assistance, which they call the Family Investment Program, childcare, We've all been watching that. I think anybody that works with populations that receive services or rely on services like food assistance or Medicaid, we're really nervous about unintended consequences to this bill. I'll be honest, I'm having what I call version blur. There's been so many versions of bills out there. I can't even remember all of what's in that bill right now. Do you want to give a quick summary, Carlin?
Sure. Let's hope I remember too. So, and we've talked about this one on our capital chats and snapshots this year a lot. And want to remind you, it's being called the SNAP bill. At least now it's being called public assistance, which is more comprehensive. I mean, unfortunately, but at least it's getting a title that really does reflect what's going on, because it got media attention for being the bill that was going to ban people on SNAP from buying pop and candy and meat and a bunch of other things that were kind of a ridiculous list of, non-options for people on SNAP. Well, that's the House version. The Senate version is equally as bad, but it did pass out of the Senate, as Amy said last Thursday, and what it requires is an asset test for people who are applying for supplemental nutrition assistance program and other public assistance programs, which includes Medicaid. And right now, combining or, making the same test for all of the programs that we're talking about, it just doesn't work, because there are different people are different, families are different, and requiring a whole asset test for people for a household for people who are on Medicaid could have some significant effects on people who require Medicaid as their medical provider. So if you are on Medicaid, you need to call your legislator and talk about this, because it could have effects for you and for other people. And they need to hear from you that you're concerned, because there's a lot of details yet to work out also. And in the meantime, we're kind of all hanging in the lurch trying to figure out if this passes. First of all, it has to get federal approval, so that could be a hurdle for the state to get through. But the House and the Senate here seem very intent on this getting passed and this being the new reality for people in Iowa. And the only way that they're going to save money on it is for fewer people to use those programs. Much of the funding which comes from the federal level. It's not even from the state. And that, if there's one action item you could do this week, it would be to write your representative and have them be on the lookout for this bill, because it's coming over to the House.
Yeah, and I think that's a great summary. I think one of also the concerning things is if they're going to be checking databases, national databases that may or may not be accurate, because they're not under the control of anyone in the state. And if there's a discrepancy, is what they call it. So if something doesn't match up, that's going to cause a question, and they're going to send you a letter, and you have 10 days to respond, just 10 days to respond, to let them know why that discrepancy is wrong. So it really puts it back on the person receiving services or their guardian to respond fast and to get the documentation that you need, which sometimes, as you know, can be troublesome to get the stuff that you need to be able to prove that you are still eligible. So we think there's going to be a lot of people that this could really disrupt their services if it's done, if it's not done carefully. And I think one of the things that people keep bringing up is the Department of Health and Human Services already does a lot of this and does check databases through a free system. And now they're going to require the state to pay $3.3 million to a vendor, to a private company, to do these checks. It's going to cost $30 million to increase the IT, information technology, computers, all of that in the state. They're going to have to hire 231 people to go out to people's houses to decide whether you have a second car. If you have things in your house that are expensive that would count toward as an asset, they're going to have to hire another 19 people in inspections and appeals to do appeals. So when you look at what the fiscal note says, it says that it's going to cost, well over $30 million to put this in place. And then by year 4, by the 4th year after spending all of this money, you will save $7 million because they estimate 1% of the people will end up losing their services because of that. So that includes 8,000 Iowans receiving Medicaid and 2,800 people receiving that food assistance or SNAP. And so I think that there's just a lot of questions and concerns about this. We will put up an action alert on our Take Action Center if you guys want to take action and send something to your state representatives right away. Again, always emphasize what it does for you and what that would mean if you would have to potentially lose those benefits if you're flagged for a discrepancy. One thing we want to make sure you do know is that the funnel is on Friday. So bills have to be out of committee. And also Friday is our capital chat at 11 a.m. So on Friday, the 31st, join us at the capital chat if you want to know how all of this ended up. This public assistance bill has to go through committee. There is an option that it could go directly to the debate calendar. We're not sure what they're going to do with it, but you can find out about that next Friday and join us for that capital chat.
We'll also have more discussion on Friday about Medicaid and some of the new recommendations for waivers from a member of the Medicaid team who will join us to give her expertise on what's going on in new Medicaid programs.
Great. So it sounds like they shouldn't miss Friday. Plus you get to see us.
So we can be hopeful about that.
Yes. See you next week.
Thank you.